Hi everyone. Have you ever noticed yourself reacting strongly to something? Maybe that's out of jealousy, anger, or fear. And then you thought to yourself, why did that bother me so much? And this is where shadow work comes in. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Elony'a. I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist. I'm also a master Reiki practitioner and the founder of Divine Mind CCHT. And today, let's talk a little bit about shadow work. So let's begin. Now, shadow work is the process of exploring and integrating the parts of ourselves that we usually try to keep hidden from everyone else. So this may be our unconscious thoughts, emotions, desires, patterns, and belief systems that we may deem as negative or unacceptable. Now, the term shadow work actually comes from the very well-known psychologist Carl Jung, who described the shadow as the side of the human psyche that holds everything that we repress or deny. So these are all of the pieces of ourselves that don't fit how we want to be seen or perceived by what society deems as good or acceptable. So a few examples of our shadow may be jealousy or resentment that you don't want to admit that you feel. Maybe it's some hidden insecurities or fears. It may be desires or impulses that you've been taught are bad. It could be your pride, experiencing feelings of shame, guilt, or anger that you suppress. Or maybe it's habits of self-sabotage or avoidance. Now, doing shadow work means it's bringing awareness to these hidden aspects and understanding where they come from, how they started, and learning to accept and then to integrate them, rather than rejecting, judging, or avoiding them. Now, there are so many ways that we can do this. Remember, not every method of shadow work works for everyone. It's not a one-size-fits-all. There are plenty of methods. You just have to figure out what works best for you. Now, some common shadow work practices may include journaling prompts, such as what traits in others trigger me and why. That just gives you the opportunity to explore at an even deeper level, tuning out your conscious logical mind and opening up your unconscious. That's where most of the answers lie. It may be mindfulness practices such as meditation or hypnosis, and this will help you to observe your reactions without judgment. Maybe it's one of the many forms of therapy such as somatic therapy, talk therapy, or specifically inner child work to uncover some of these root causes and where they stem from. It may be dream analysis, dream journaling, or some form of creative expression, and that may be through art, writing, or movement. Or one of the best ways to do shadow work is through interactions with others. Maybe that's interacting with your family, your friends, a partner, or your community. And this is because relationships often mirror the parts of ourselves that we have not yet faced. So for example, there may be something in one of these significant relationships that trigger us. This is the best way to start your shadow work. It starts with a trigger. So once that trigger comes up, once it's mirrored to you through one of these relationships, that is where the shadow work begins, with the awareness, and then you can find the root cause. Begin to accept this part of your shadow and integrate it into who you are. Now, if you're new to shadow work, I encourage you to start small because we can't do everything all at once. So pick one topic or reoccurring emotion that means something to you. It's something that you want to explore more deeply. Maybe it's one of your triggers that have been coming up a lot more frequently. And I want to note that shadow work is not about having some sort of sudden epiphany. In reality, shadow work is more like peeling back layers of an onion. It's more like gradually uncovering hidden feelings, behaviors, patterns, emotions, belief systems that are shaping you in ways that you may not have even realized. For example, maybe you're noticing a pattern of abandonment fears that are coming up every time you start a new friendship or relationship. Now, instead of running from these feelings like we usually do, you want to sit with the feeling instead. You want to ask yourself certain questions, maybe like, what is triggering this fear? How does it make me feel emotionally or physically when this abandonment fear is coming up? How am I outwardly reacting when I feel abandoned? Or even something like, are there ways I might be abandoning myself when this wound is activated? Now, these are just examples of how to start the shadow work. It's turning inward, being curious about yourself, and responding with compassion versus rejecting, judging, or avoiding. And remember, shadow work is probably going to look and feel different for everyone. We may not have all gone through the same things or experienced these things in the same exact way. So shadow work may last longer or shorter for you than it does for someone else. Even people who are sharing the same exact experience, such as two siblings who maybe they lost a parent at a young age, they will have completely different emotional realities. And there are so many factors that cause this difference. Maybe their age, their personalities, the relationship they had with that parent. These are all things that shape how they may process things that they've experienced. Now, shadow work, when it's done gently and intentionally, it can lead to things such as greater self-awareness and a sense of authenticity, emotional healing and less reactivity to our triggers, healthier relationships with others and with ourselves, with fewer projections and triggers, and a deeper sense of wholeness. And that's because we are finally accepting every single part of who we are. And I think this is really important to understand that shadow work is not a one-time thing. It is a lifelong journey. Us as humans, we are always evolving mentally, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. So when you see people online claiming that they are fully healed, take that with a grain of salt. There's really no such thing. So we may be overcoming challenges or previous painful or traumatic experiences, but healing has no end point. It is an ongoing process. Even spiritual teachers and gurus are still working through things from their past and their present. We heal and we grow as long as we're alive, because life itself is all about experiencing, learning, and evolving. And there's really no such thing as good or bad. Things just simply are. And shifting that perspective may bring more peace and acceptance into your life. And a quick disclaimer, in no means am I dismissing anyone's pain or trauma, but I'm just here to remind you that everything you experience can teach you something and is ultimately there to teach you something. I'm one who truly does not believe in coincidences. I don't think things happen by chance. I truly believe that there is purpose behind everything. Even when we don't fully understand why something happens, or if we don't agree with the way something happened, there is always something within that situation that is there to teach us or to help us grow, whether that's through love, pain, loss, challenge, or abundance. Now, this is the heart of shadow work, learning to see every part of yourself and your life as meaningful instead of running, rejecting, judging, or avoiding. Now, if you have any questions about shadow work, or if you would like some assistance with getting started, feel free to reach out to me on any of my social media platforms, or you can visit my website at divinemindsccht.com. You can book your free consultation, and I can answer any of your questions there. I thank you all for joining me for this topic, and I hope to see you all next time.